My name is Sangeet Varghese. I'm the president of IFSPD Europe. And boys, welcome to Davos Worldwide 2025 edition. And interestingly, for the next 1 hour, this boys gang is going to have some good amount of fun. At the same time, we would be engaging in a critical conversation. A conversation which is of utmost importance to the world. Because today we are going to talk about the future of the world from the young perspective, from the perspective of the youth. And today I am joined along with Rishabh Pandey, Tamas Landis, and Zach Sangeet. So if you would allow me, the way we would structure it, boys, is like this. I would give you exactly a minute to each of you to introduce yourselves. And then we move on to the critical conversation in Davos Worldwide 2025. So over to you, Rishabh.
Yeah, I hope I'm audible. Well, my name is Rishabh, and I am in grade 11 commerce. I'm from India, and I'm really passionate about mixed martial arts. I'm a mixed martial artist and really keen towards history and other subjects such as geography. These two are my favorite subjects, and I'm a passionate debater. I've been in many MUNs, and they are kind of my hobby. I love doing MUNs, and those are kind of things I love doing. So that's just about me.
Thank you so much, Rishabh. And as we are conversing, we would talk more about how sports is going to value add, how diplomacy is going to value add as far as the future of the mankind is concerned. So more about it as we get into the conversation. Tamas, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Tamas, obviously. I am a ninth grade student and I'm very passionate about writing stuff. So currently I'm actually writing a book about the future. So this really correlates well. Like Rishab, I'm also a very passionate debater. So I attend many MUNs. It's one of my favorite hobbies to do. And yeah, in school, I just generally like to be part of my MUN club. And in fact, I actually represent them as the president. So I help with the club meetings and yeah, that's about me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we have got two MUN debaters over here who are well-versed in diplomacy, who are well-versed in international affairs. So more about it as we are going ahead. And as we are moving on, I would be very excited to hear about the future book which you are writing also, Tamash. We will talk about it as we move ahead. Over to you, Zach.
My name is Zach Sangeet. I am a grade 8 student of Head Start Educational Academy and the author of the history book series World History in 3 Points and the co-author of Hidden Links, published by Penguin in 2024. My passion is history, and I enjoy speaking about history and how exactly it can help us understand the future and help us make a better, more sustainable future for the future generations.
Fantastic, Zach. So we have multiple things which are connecting the audience over here. So Rishabh as well as Zach, both of you are interested in history as a subject, so which we would speak about it as we are going ahead. And here is Tamash and Rishabh, who are both interested in MUN. So we've got a link which is connecting all of us. And I want to assure you that all of us over here are going to have fun. So all of you can relax, put your guards down, and we'll have a fun conversation together. Excellent. So now the topic of the day is future. The future of the world from the youth perspective. So I want to open the floor with this question, which I would pose to Rishabh. What do you envision this world? How would this world look like? What, according to you, would how this world would look like in 20 years?
Well, that's quite a difficult question to answer to begin with. We cannot predict anything. We could not have predicted COVID-19 taking all over the world in 2020, but that happened. So that's a very difficult question. But according to me, if we do not let the fear of development, which the youth and many people today face, if we do not let that creep into us, then the world will be a much better place. But yes, we will be facing challenges such as global warming and challenges such as climate change is top of our priority, should be the top of our priority at this point. But political tensions don't allow it to happen that way, seeing the war conflicts such as Ukraine, Russia, or even Israel, Palestine going on at this point of time. But that should be a priority, climate change, but that is not. And if we not let it come in, and we cooperate and collaborate between the nations and look forward to what is coming, then of course will have a great world in 20 years. But the one thing that will be the changing point will be the AI, especially the role of generative AI in the future. And only in the upcoming years we are going to be using quantum mechanics and other technologies which will be helping humans by a lot. And if we were afraid of development in the past, and if we are doing it again this time, then of course it will be stopping our development. Such as let's take the computer revolution. When the computers came into existence, people were out of jobs for a long time, but ultimately it increased the employment rates. So if you're afraid of that development that comes with technology, then of course we'll be capping ourselves and our development in the future. But AI, generative AI, as I spoke about, it's already making changes in the world at this point. Let it be the Museo X of China, or in India we have Eagle 2.0, the AI system which teaches students in classes. Though it's like a robot teacher. And so that is what I personally believe. And in 20 years, the world will be a better place if we collaborate and cooperate for a better future. And those are the two basic principles of innovation, according to me. These are the two basic innovations for a better future, and for innovation itself, collaboration and cooperation. So 20 years from now on, can't really be predicted, but seeing as what it is going at this point, if we collaborate and cooperate, we can look to a bright future ahead.
So you're optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
Uh, if the upcoming 20 years, I am quite optimistic. I would say in the upcoming 20 years, I'm optimistic. Yes.
So cautiously optimistic. Tamash,
Yes.
over to you, man.
Thank you. Well, today we're observing that there's a lot of incredible progress happening around us in quite a short time. For example, already like AI, it's been invented so quickly and it's developing every day. Every day a new company does further research into it or starts integrating it into their model. So that's very interesting. But the problem is with all good things, there's also a cost we have to pay. For example, AI, it uses around 267 million liters of water per day, which is a lot. Because that water, for example, could be used to generate hydroelectric power, but instead it's being used for AI. So as you can see, there's always going to be some sort of sacrifice here. And if we don't tackle on the big issues today, like climate change right now, I feel like in 20 years, the future could look a bit more grim, actually, because right now, according to statistics, many countries are battling with very high AQIs. And I'm actually researching about this right now as I'm writing a chapter in the book, which is about our everyday life and environment. And reading many articles and research reports, it doesn't really look that good. So we need to take on responsibility today to address these issues so that we can make an impact like fast. And I want to contribute to a better future in sustainability, obviously. So that's why on all these MUNs, we are also trying to talk more about climate change. So we're trying to see from a youth perspective, how can we fight climate change? For example, our most recent topic was about climate refugees. So if we were part of the UN, how could we help climate refugees? How can we help them out? Because that's actually a very important issue today. And I'd like to maybe in the future try work with the World Health Organization or United Nations and just try help them out with these type of issues. And I want to do my part to ensure that there's a brighter future for everyone. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Tomasz Landis is cautiously pessimistic. So here is here is Rishabh who's cautiously optimistic and Tomasz who's cautiously pessimistic. Though you were talking about exactly the same kind of issues, right? You have been talking about AI, which is a zeitgeist, which is the spirit of the times at this point of time. All of us are trying to figure out what exactly is this organism all about, right? Which way this organism will turn? Would it be good for us? Would it be bad for us? It's like an unknown. There is something which is called the Johari's window, which talks about whether it is a known one, right? So it's like a unknown for us. We know some part of it, but majority of it is unknown for us. So I would now look at Zach. What is your opinion? What is the world has got in store for us in the next coming 20 years?
The future is probably one of the most interesting subjects that I have ever encountered. And the behavioral economist Nassim Nicholas Taleb, in his book Black Swan, describes how the future is practically impossible to predict, right? But I believe that we can take important lessons from history, which can help us understand and help us look at development in the future. And this is based on the work of my most favorite thinker, Georg Hegel. He says that we can implement ideas or even problems that have occurred in the past and apply it to the present, apply it to the future to make a sustainable, to make an exceptional, a great future, right? Take, for example, ancient Greece or nomadic Mongolia. Both of these are extremely social societies. Greece is all about communities, right? Community living. Meanwhile, Mongolia is nomadic Mongolia. Because they are nomads, they learn how to hunt together, how to gather together, and they live as a community. Meanwhile, one of the main issues which the present and the future sees for humanity is one of our social lives, right? We're always glued to a phone, we have short attention spans. So, implementing something from the past, like hunting together in a nomadic way, of course, not in the exact same way, or living together in communities, right? If we implement this from the past, I think we can have an optimistic future ahead of us and a sustainable future.
Wonderful, wonderful. In fact, all three of us, what I really gather from here is that though all of you told me in different words, it's exactly the same message which is coming through. There are going to be challenges in the future. It's difficult to predict the future. At the same time, like Rishabh pointed out, like Zach pointed out, like Tamash pointed out, the way out of this is probably collaboration, cooperation, people coexisting together. So that brings me to another very interesting question. So we are talking about collaboration, we are talking about coexisting together, we are talking about cooperation between people, we are talking about physical contact, we are talking about people being together. However, with the social media onslaught, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and now artificial intelligence. Earlier, it was about when you had to talk, you talk. You go out there, meet up with your friends. You live in communities. We help each other. So that's how the human society has evolved. But right now, with all the Instagram and WhatsApp of the world, we're not seeing each other, we're not meeting each other, we're not talking to each other. So in such a world, which is dominated by social media, and you consume information which the social media is giving you, and you have got no clue whether it is right or wrong. There could be humongous amount of disinformation in the world. So in such a world, how do you promote cooperation? How do you promote collaboration? How do you coexist? How do you physically be in touch with somebody else? Over to you, Rishabh.
Yeah. Well, I would say that it is quite hard to ask that again, but as I'm here speaking, I'm from India and I'm speaking from a city called Bangalore. While I'm communicating with a person in France, Tamad, I think I'm not sure, but I think he's from France. So social media has that power as well. If you look at it through the different scope, social media has a power to connect people and connect people from across borders, and it does not have any geographical borders. But that's the most important point. So social media, yes, from one scope, yes, it does distract teenagers, especially the youth of today, if I may say. And seeing as I live in a boarding school and with my peers, I've seen people get distracted, especially during the exam times and other times as well, while just scrolling reels throughout the day. So yeah, social media always does distract us, but it also leads to cooperation and collaboration in a way that we cannot imagine, and that is because it is not for our other generations, like our generation, the Gen Z specifically. We feel a connection to social media because it connects us with people who have the same thought process. Which, for example, let's take about reels. Instagram reels, a very famous platform, and what it basically does, it suggests you the reels which you relate to. Now what it gives people a stand on is that you feel like you are with someone, or someone is with you that feels the same way you do at this point of time. So it's not you just alone out there in the world that just feels this way from the within. It's just that you are with someone that feels the same way about it. So collaboration and cooperation has actually is benefited by the presence of social media, according to me, because it helps you connect to people with the same mindset and with the same thought process as you. But at the same time, of course, it does have its backdraws, and have to sacrifice. You might get distracted a lot. Social media, you get distracted through social media by a lot. So that's what my perspective is. It's how you use it. At the end, it's how you use it. It depends on you how you utilize any platform, be it social media, or be it the books you read, or be it the people you meet. It's how you communicate. It's how you cooperate. It's how you behave, and it's how you manage time to time. That's all.
Excellent inputs, Rishabh. I'm loving this conversation. I'm absolutely loving this conversation. Tamash, what do you think about social media? What do you think, is social media going to be a hindrance for the human race in terms of cooperation, collaboration, and coexistence?
All right, thank you. I think social media is great. Like, I have the same points as Rishab. It's great that you can just open your computer and find someone who agrees with your points and is willing to listen to you, and then also give their points and perspective on something that you might need some feedback on. For example, like something I find really fun is whenever I'm studying for my exams, actually, I benefit a lot from social media, as there are communities which are set up, and in these communities there's students from the same curriculum as me, and there I can ask them questions and ask for help, and they can explain it to me, and then I can also help them. So in a way I can connect with students and they can help me out. But yeah, it really depends how you use social media. If you want to use it well, then you can use it for education and learning and just trying to be a good student, or you can just get distracted and start watching videos, and that's a problem because student also there's a thing about procrastination. You might feel like you really want to do it, but then you don't find the motivation to do it, so then you end up just doing something else which is more easier to do. And for instance, scrolling on Instagram is way easier than researching about climate change and writing an essay about it. So it's very normal for people to just start drifting away from stuff they need to do. But yeah, I really find that social media is very impressive because I can connect with all these amazing people like you guys with just being in my own home. So I think social media is very important. It will shape our future, but we have to use it correctly, and we need to enforce some regulations if we want to make it better. Yeah.
Wonderful, guys. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm learning a lot from you guys. Over to you, Zach.
Again, going back to the historical perspective, as what I enjoy is connecting every single thing which we can learn, which we can understand, back to history, back to the past, going back to Hegel's explanation on how exactly we can implement things and or use things from the past to help our future become better, right? So going back to social media, again, social media is an exceptional way in which we can, me who's in India can connect with Tomas in France or Rishabh in another part of Bangalore, right? But again, the consequences of social media are large, and so to combat that, we can the specific anecdote I drew was a philosophy from an Arab philosopher based out of Spain named Ibn Khaldun, right? Ibn Khaldun also lived during the time of the Mongols, and his understanding was that the reason the Mongol Empire thrived was because of something he termed as asabiya, right? Asabiya is the sense of unity, and the Mongols thrived because of this unity, right? They would go onto the battlefields together, they would hunt together, right? And it is this sense of unity that helped them thrive. So, using social media as a tool, it should uh, it should be implemented in the right way, not just shortening our attention span, but also helping us develop our asabiya, helping us unite, helping us connect across the world, and helping globalization thrive.
Interesting, interesting, interesting. So let me just then pull the discussion back into a larger arena. It is not just social media we are talking about. Let's talk about technology. So what do you think are going to be, both of you spoke about artificial intelligence. So what are the opportunities which technology is going to pose? Second, what are the challenges which it is going to pose? And the third one, from a youth perspective, what do you think about it? Rishabh.
Uh, Technology. Now, that is a very interesting topic. And technology, I hope at this point itself, we have achieved so much through technology. Now, of course, as Tamal also pointed it out, we are using liters of water, AI that gets wasted due to that. But technology is something that is developing at a very fast rate. Even today, as we are sitting right now, people are, making new discoveries on technology in the field of technology. And it's out of hand at this point, to be honest. But technology, as I spoke about generative AI in the past, technology and generative AI, and these things will not only further human race by decades or even centuries of development. They will help us to be better at what we do it today. But of course, there are drawbacks of artificial intelligence and technology. Even IMF themselves predicted in 2023, if I am correct, or 2024, that around 40% of the human workforce, 40% of the entire world's human workforce will be affected by, is exposed to AI. Just AI, that's leaving the technology part of it, just AI that we are talking about. So that's a huge number. And that's, it's hard for us to compensate that. How are you going to compensate for the 40% of the world's population who is exposed to that? But then again, as I said, we have to combat these through different solutions. But that is one of the primary drawbacks of this. But at the same time, if you read about other articles from Goldman Sachs, their study also says that it will create around 800 million jobs. So it's more like replacing them, or it's not completely replacing them, but it is replacing them. So is AI or is technology replacing us? I would say no. I feel like people consider it a drawback, but I would say that it will be working hand in hand with humans, because as we know, AI has zero IQ. Not AI, I would say take a computer or something like that has zero IQ. So it needs inputs from humans. And generative AI is something that it will not require inputs, and it functions on its own believe its own thinking, so that it can develop its own thinking. So that way it has drawbacks and it has its own benefit. But from my perspective, I think AI and technology, as it is developing, it can help in healthcare, specifically in healthcare, which we need at this point of time. If we had the use of technology had reached that pinnacle, then maybe we could have dealt with COVID-19 in a much better way. Maybe we could have, it could have helped us much better. And that's why I believe that, technology developing is something that needs to happen. We cannot be afraid of development. As humans, we need to evolve. We need to develop ourselves. We cannot be afraid of change. If we are afraid of change, then then we are no different from the animals that are on Earth at this point of time. But what separates us from them is the ability to change. It's the ability to accept our fear, but still develop our fears. So that is why I think that a technology and development of technology will have a very good impact and will be very beneficial for the human race.
Tomasz?
Yeah, I agree with what Rishabh said. Technology is very important and we should not fear development, because if we don't try, we will never know. And then we will just sit here knowing that, well, if we took just a small risk, maybe we could have seen some sort of change. So development is something we should definitely not fear. We should embrace development. And I believe it's very important that technology does further improve and get better, because with technology is already our best bet of maybe making this world more cleaner, for example, as AI can calculate a lot of big numbers that humans would take a while to do. For example, it could do something a human would take a few hours to do in a matter of seconds. And that's what we should think about. We should think about, because time is something you cannot buy. We have all limited time. And the whole point is we should try take advantage of that limited time by using the tools we have around us to make as much out as we can out of it. So if we embrace these tools like AI, for example, in jobs or even in factories, we can save time in producing, writing, researching. And that's very important because we need that time to develop action and actually like, for example, make the world more sustainable. We need time to make it more sustainable. And that's where our time should be going, not for the useless small things that take a lot of our time, like the logistics, for example. So I believe, yes, it's very important that we develop on our technology and make it better. For example, technology like air quality sensors around the world, we should try make this accessible for everyone so they can track how high is their index in their country and what they can do to make it more sustainable, like their area more sustainable. And with that, they could use AI to tell them what they could do to make an impact. So I believe, yes, we should not fear development. We should embrace development, and we should try teach this to our future generations so that they can take on the same model as us.
Interesting, Tomasz. Interesting. Thank you. And Zach has been trying to connect history and future, which are in a normal sort of thing. It is a dichotomy. History is very different compared to future, and these are two ends of the spectrum. So what are your comments on this, Zach?
Again, right now, AI seems like the next best thing, the next big thing, the thing that could change the entire globe and maybe the greatest thing that will come for quite some time. But again, this is probably what the Romans thought when they had invented aqueducts, or even what the Harappan civilization thought in India when they invented the sewage system. Or for that matter, even what the ancient Greeks would have thought when they were thinking at an extremely advanced level, maybe even for our time, developing great political ideologies such as democracy, or futuristic thinking, or developing some of the greatest some medicinal or economic or mathematical great developments, right? So AI, even though it seems to be the next great thing, is probably just maybe one of the small things that humanity has to achieve, right? But its impact for now on the world, I feel it will be great. Of course, already the global economy is sort of fragile. So I am a bit worried about how exactly AI replacing jobs will have an effect on that. But again, I believe that there's a positive side to that, right? Because the World Economic Forum predicts that a lot of the rational, the mathematical jobs will be overtaken by artificial intelligence. And that will leave humanity to distinguish ourselves from AI with skills such as or with values such as empathy, such as emotions, such as critical thinking, right? That's something a machine can never replace. And maybe this will bring out a different side in us, right? It will help us to propagate these skills, these values, such as emotion, such as thinking through things with emotion, critically thinking through things, and propagating our empathy. Thank you.
Very interesting points out there, Zach. So essentially, what Zach is saying is that though at this point of time, when we are standing over here, now and here, artificial intelligence looks like the biggest looming opportunity or disaster, whichever way we look at it or whichever side which we take on. But the point which he is making is that probably it is just myopia. Probably it is just we are standing now and here. That is why we are feeling it. Romans would have felt the same way when they invented aqueducts, or Chinese would have felt the same way when they invented gunpowder, or the Mongols would have felt the same way when they invented stirrups in the horses. Or rather, when I was growing up, we thought internet is the biggest thing which could happen to us. There could be nothing larger than internet. Or this 5 years down the lane, we thought there was nothing, or there could be nothing bigger than Google. Think about it. At that particular point of time, the entire internet was at a disarray. Even before that, even 5 years before that, wow, there is a way in which I do not need to sit down and write a letter and post it, and I could instantly chat with somebody in another part of the world. And then another 5 years, then we are discovering that here is something wherein you just type in and it just gives you the answer. You don't need to go and refer a book. You don't need to ask a teacher. The answer is right over there. 5 years down the lane, here is Facebook. And I could see pictures, you could see exchange images, talk to somebody, chat with somebody. And another 5 years down the lane, videos. You could live watch videos. YouTube became such a big sensation. And now we are talking about AI. Probably it is zeitgeist. Probably it is the spirit of the times. Probably it is not the biggest invention which people would make. Probably there is another thing which is coming in the next coming 5 years. Who knows? So that brings me to my next question, which a couple of you had told me earlier, which is about sustainability. Your passion about sustainability, how you're trying to do something about sustainability. So, in your opinion, how can the next generation promote sustainability and then tackle the climate change? Rishabh, you had mentioned about sustainability and your passion about for sustainability. So over to you, man.
Before I do go on to that question, I just wanted to add a thing about what you said and Zach said, and I completely agree with that. That AI in the current time seems like the biggest thing, and as you mentioned, when Chinese, that is what Chinese must have felt when they invented the gunpowder, and that is what brings me to my point, and that is it is what our society is based on at this point of time. What Greeks found democracy, it is what our society is based on at this point of time. So each invention that there's as we evolve, as I said in the before speaking over here, as I said that over time, as we evolve, there'll always be a bigger fish to catch. There'll always be something that we need to aim for. So that is what I just wanted to add, and I think that was a wonderful point by Zach. That's all I wanted to add to that. And now answering your question, sir, about sustainability and how do we promote sustainability in this world. So first of all, we need to, of course, use our resources very carefully, and this is taught to students in us in Indian schools from the very childhood, and it's a part of the curriculum, and that is renewable and non-renewable resources. So you need to use your resources carefully before doing anything else. Now, sustainability, you can first of all, the 3 R's, you need to follow them: recycle, reuse, and the other things. These things are the basic points of sustainability. How do you have sustainable development? And that brings me to my next point, is that how do we get that? Is that you need to think together, you need to work together to have a certain goal. Now let's talk about plastic. Plastic is one of the biggest issue at this point of time. How do you dispose of plastic? And the answer to that, I think, again, is technology. I know that kind of seems vague, but I do believe that it is technology. That the development of technology is the answer to everything at this point of time. And how do you dispose plastic? You can recycle it. The main thing you can do with plastic is you recycle it. Now, how do you sustainably develop that? Other methods, for example, electric cars. The electric cars now, even for producing the electricity to charge these cars in India, we burn coal. So it indirectly just reciprocates to global warming, and it just helps with it does not help you at all, because it just leads to carbon emission anyway. So it just depends on how do you work around it, around the system of this system of reusing, and not rather than exhausting your resources, you're reusing your resources. So it just evolve, it rotates around that thing. Now, another point about sustainability is that each thing you do, it cannot be perfectly sustainable. Anything you do cannot be perfectly sustainable. There will always be a minimal amount of change that will happen, that will hamper the future generations. There'll be that minute thing. Now, and that can never be eliminated. According to me, I do believe that minute percentage will never be eliminated, and that is why we need to develop ourselves and find new opportunities and new things to develop, because without those new developments, and for example, going to other planets, Elon Musk, recently, Elon Musk he was in this inauguration speech, sorry, in the presidential speech with with Trump. And Elon Musk kind of inspires me a lot, because the main thing he tells about is planet exploration, other planet exploration, and that is what is the future of human race. Without that, yes, we do have only one planet, but we need to have more planets, according to me. But that is, of course, 100 years, or maybe 200 years ahead of time. But that is what I believe, that sustainability, as much as we promote it in the coming generations, for a generation, for 2 generations, for 3 generations, it might work. But after a certain point, that minimal rate, that will affect the future generations, and that's why we need to develop and go to other planets and develop our technology to that level.
I'm loving this conversation, man. I'm also loving this conversation because there is a great amount of synergy between the panelists. There is a lot of bouncing across of ideas, synergy of ideas, exchange of ideas, which is exactly what we started this conversation with. The future of the mankind is about collaboration, coexistence, cooperation. So, Tamash, you are also a big champion of sustainability, and I would love to hear you.
All right, thank you. So my thoughts on sustainability. Well, currently today, I mean, we're doing as much as we can in schools. Yeah, I'm very happy that schools are teaching us from a young age how to reduce, reuse, and recycle. But I feel like humans are really like some humans are like visual learners, and I believe it's very important for humans to experience, know what it feels like, and how impact can be done. So, for example, an example I mean from visual learning is a few years ago we had a trip to we have this company who recycles paper in our school, and they're only dedicated to just recycling paper. So this reduces the deforestation of forests. So it's great. So like I don't know, hundreds of tons of papers get sent there, and then they reuse it, and then it can be sold again as normal paper, and that's great, as we don't have to cut down more trees and we can focus on planting more. But what this taught everyone there is how that we can actually recycle paper and we can make new paper without needing to, cut down more trees to manufacture more paper. Now, paper, of course, is very different than, sustainability, because it's more about technology now. But if we tie this with, other concepts, for example, we can teach, our future generations and people in schools like this. We have to show them that it's possible, and we also have to, give them the option to take a look at it. We cannot restrict them from seeing what we can achieve. So I believe that it's very important that we learn through experiences and research. So which is why I think that in schools, I think it would be great if we could actually write case studies for countries who are experiencing massive problems. So let's say there's a village in Poland, for example. Poland right now is facing one of the worst climate like AQIs ever. In like since World War II, it's increased by 1,000% their air quality in terms of air quality index, and that's horrible. And let's say a student living in Lithuania, they could write a case study for people who live in Poland for like a small village. And I believe that's very good because people in Lithuania then will learn about the issues in Poland, and then they can write extensive long case studies, which then they can send to the locals living in Poland and this village which is affected by horrible climate rates. They can use this research to help improve their climate in the area. And I think that's very important because then we teach many people from all around the world about their current situation, and we all learn. So in the end, people from Lithuania learn, and then also people in Poland also learn because they're learning from people in Lithuania how they, for example, recycle and reduce climate rate. Lithuania, of course, is an example, but I hope you get what I mean. So yeah, I think it's very important that we all collaborate. And the best way to do that is through case studies, I think, because case studies is what, you can put your emotions into it, It's you can also gather a lot of research. In my opinion, case studies are one of the best ways to learn. Of course, if you write them, because you could also get an AI to write a case study, but then you can see the difference. An AI doesn't really go into those small details which a human would. So I believe we should do it through case studies, the learning and teaching. But yeah, and that's how we could become more sustainable if we just taught our future generations through stuff like this, and we got them to engage. And then let's say if a country which wrote this case study faced a similar issue a few years later, the people, and then it's kind of like a testing ground, because if Poland implemented the suggested actions that a Lithuanian student proposed to Poland, then the actions done in Poland to reduce the climate, the high AQI there, then can be used in that country. So in a way, the world is our like testing ground in a good way. And we're not really, so yeah, that's how I think we should learn, through case studies. I hope it's not too vague. Yeah.
Interesting. So what I learned from Tamaj would be one, visual learning. How do you show and tell? How do you lead through example? That's a very interesting point which he was making. And the second one, how do you really get engaged in case studies? How do you simulate? Again, how do you collaborate through somebody else's mistakes, through somebody else's learnings? How do you simulate those learnings? And as you are talking about AQI, I'm going to invite you to Delhi one of these days. And you would be surprised about Poland. Poland would be heaven for you once you come to Delhi. So over to you, Zach. Do you have any historical perspective as far as sustainability is concerned, or do you have some other interesting perspective?
Right. The common misconception which our modern society has is that climate change is an event which has occurred, which has started just over a few centuries back after the Industrial Revolution, right? But interestingly, though, ever since civilization first dawned upon the earth, the initial civilizations being the Egyptian civilization, the Minoan civilization, the Harappan civilization in India, etc. These civilizations, in fact, were followed by a climate change, which ended all of them, the Bronze Age climate change in around 1700 BCE, right? But the interesting thing is what happens right after the Bronze Age climate change. In spite of the devastation it caused the fall of the old Egyptian civilization, it caused the fall of some of the biggest giants in the world, right? But right after this, humanity was able to sort of make it back. The new civilizations formed. The new Egyptian civilization formed in the place of the old one, right? The Vedic civilization formed in the place of the old Harappan civilization. The new Greek civilization formed in place of the Minoan civilization. And all of these new civilizations had something in common. They all developed much more than their predecessors. Greek civilization brought forth some of the greatest literature, the father of medicine, the father of mathematics, the father of history, all happened to be Greeks. Uh, the Egyptian civilization brought forth new kings who brought with them new culture, right? And maybe with the help of our unity, with the help of our asabiya, we not just made back what we lost to climate change, but we also developed much more. Just like that, I believe that right now, the present climate change we are facing, if we tackle it in the right way, in a united way, in a way with asabiya involved in it, we will be able to develop much more. I propose that, in fact, in India, where I study right now, already the education system is implementing how exactly we can reduce, how exactly we can be, how we can contribute to our environment in our science textbooks, in our humanities textbooks. Or for that matter, right now, if we all are able to converse at such a high level about sustainability, why can't we also go out there and implement it with the help of others and make it back and develop just like they did after the fall of the great civilization?
Very interesting perspective, Zach. Very interesting perspective, right? So, because from Rishabh and Tamash, I'm seeing very practically grounded perspectives of how exactly sustainability could be implemented in terms of recycling plastics, the 3 R's which they are talking about, the case studies which they are talking about, the visual learning which they are talking about, how technology helps in combating sustainability or combating the climate change rather, right? So that's one perspective which is emerging, and the second perspective which is emerging is which is again reverberation of the point which we were making earlier about technology, as we might all be thinking that we are unique, this particular time is unique, this particular innovation is unique, this particular disaster which we are going through is unique, this particular catastrophe is unique, this particular cataclysm is unique. Probably not. Which is a point which Zach is making, as in climate change, though it seems to be daunting, though it seems to be the biggest elephant in the room at this point of time, probably, just probably, human beings might have handled this earlier and might have handled it well earlier. In fact, I was reading recently about ancient Roman Empire in about 100 BCE. It was such a large polluter in the world, primarily because of their mining activities and primarily because of the lead mining which they were undertaking. It polluted the world, contaminated the world so much that for the next generations, and even now in some parts of Europe, the lead poisoning in generations in kids is so high. And again, I read about Roman civilization at some point of time, that at that point of time, there were historians, there were writers who were writing about Rome saying the increase in temperature during 100 BCE to about 200 CE, or 200, 300 CE, when Rome started falling. And they were attributing the increase in temperature, increase in the climatic changes to things like increased construction activities across Rome, increased deforestation across the Roman territories. So probably, as just Zach referred, probably we are not alone. Probably we are not unique after all. Probably this catastrophe is not unique. Probably this cataclysm is not unique. Probably there are things which we could learn. Which actually brings me, Rishabh, so what is it that you would tell the adults? What is it that you can teach the adults in terms of what role young people should be playing, or how the adults like us should hand over the baton to the youngsters in terms of decision making? Because after all, this is your world which we are living in. We are just taking care of your world, and we are just passing on. We're just caretakers of your world. So what do you want to tell me? What do you want to tell Davos worldwide organizers on how we should handle the world, or how we should give the world back to you?
Uh, I'd like to start by saying something that I have actually heard on Davos World, right? And that is, a person said over there that, established individual said that we have adopted this world from our future generations rather than inherited from our ancestors. Now that, and continuing after that, I would say that is the most hitting line I have heard in this Davos Worldwide that individual said, and that cannot be more than true. And what I would say to my, current adults in the world is that sustainability and, bringing on sustainable development is something that is vital for this next generation, because you need to leave off the next generation well enough so that they can handle themselves. And, the current generation, as I see my peers and the youth, is very fragile emotionally. I would say is very fragile, and due to that I believe that, what the hardships that the previous generations have gone through is something that we have not seen. We have read about it, but not actually experienced it. And hardships were really, they were immense at that point of time. And even the current generation's hardships, the older generation, they have faced hardship that we can never imagine at this point of time. But, and, them knowing how hard it is, they should not, impose that. They should not have to impose it upon us in the future, because if they do follow the same path as we are following, focusing on issues that are relevant, but, that are not as important as climate change, or something that will, that could lead to the extinction of human race altogether. And if they're not focusing on such things, and, focusing on events that shouldn't be resolved very easily, then of course, then they are causing the hardships for us that they have experienced in their lifetime in a different way. So that's what my message would go out to all the adults in the world. And thank you, Davos Worldwide, for having me here today. I think you're on mute, sir.
Thank you so much, Rishabh, because I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that the adults which are sitting out there in the other end of the screen are also learning from you. So over to you, Tamash. What I want to ask you is a slightly different question. Tell me about the book which you're writing, and how is it going to impact the world? How is it going to change the world? You've got 1 minute.
All right, thank you. I'm more than happy to tell you about the book. So the book we're writing about currently is called Mirror in Future. And basically, what this means is we have gathered a large amount of people, around, I think, 16 currently, with, of course, some editors. But these 16 people are all people of different ages all over the world with different aspects and different ideas in their mind. And they have been given a certain chapter, and their goal is to write about that chapter in however way they want. So how would they envision a normatopia or a utopia or a dystopia in, I don't know, let's say 100 years, for example? And that they need to write this and back it up with, of course, references and make sure it's accurate. But it's crazy, it's very fun, and it's crazy to see like everyone's perspective and opinion through this book. And everyone, everyone's small little idea can be expressed here and communicated here because it's a book. We can all communicate our feelings and ideas if it's appropriate, obviously. But I think this is a great way of getting people getting awareness, obviously. This book project already has gotten the awareness of, let's say, the World Economic Forum. I heard that they were going to invite us to something, but if we get the book published. So like these type of projects are great because it gets everyone around the world together, and they all write their thoughts and their opinions, and it's great. It's honest. I'm very happy to see that this is working. And how it could shape our futures, well, I hope that a kid like me, for example, could read the book and also maybe get the idea to also write his own book, or maybe express his own opinion and join maybe a webinar and speak out and try to advocate for change. Because I believe that the youth, the right now our youth is the biggest. If we listen to them, we should not silence our youth. We should listen to them, because I believe the youthful generation all have great ideas, great opinions, because they're the ones currently living in this time, and we are growing up with it. So I believe the people who grow up with it deserve to have a voice. And I'm very glad like organizations like WHO already implementing a youth council and are listening to them. So I hope to see more of this happening, and I hope more people get inspired to do stuff like I am doing right now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tamash. Zach, do you have any message to give to the adults? You've got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I feel that one of the most important skills a person can have is foresight, right? And maybe that should be a message which we pass on to the youth. Um, for example, some of the greatest world leaders, whether it's Mehmed the Conqueror, who took over Constantinople, or whether it's Alexander the Great, personally my most favorite visionary, all of them had the foresight to think towards the future, to think towards a greater world in which they could make an impact. So let us together with our Asabiya have foresight to change the world.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you so much, Rishabh. Thank you so much, Tamash. Thank you so much, Zach. You young men are absolutely brilliant. And it gives me the hope that the future is in the right hands. You are the right people to take on the baton of the future and run ahead. You're responsible, you're caring, you're cooperative, you're collaborative, and you coexist together. What a beautiful world. Thank you very much. And this is Sangeet Varghese signing off for Davos Worldwide in a beautiful panel with this beautiful young men, Rishabh, Tamash, and Zach, on the future of the world from the youth perspective. Thank you very much.